Meeting to order. And I think our first order of business is recognition of attendees who request to be noted. Are there any attendees who want to be noted? Mayor Stair, would you like to be noted?
I'm here to swear you in.
Okay, great. Awesome.
You want to do that first?
Sure, let's do it.
Would you like to come on down?
Sure.
I'll swear
Both of
you
us.
in individually. That's right. If you would raise your right hand, please. I, Mark Glassman. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the State of Indiana. And the ordinances of the town of Zionsville. And that I will faithfully. Honestly. And impartially. Discharge the duties. Of the Office of Redevelopment Commissioner. Of the town of Zionsville, Indiana. According to law. And to the best of my skill and ability. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Have some paperwork to sign here. Okay. Take care. All right. Wes, come on down. If you raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I, Wes Merkel. Do solemnly swear. That I will support. The Constitution of the United States. The Constitution of the State of Indiana. And the ordinances of the town of Zionsville, Indiana. And that I will faithfully. Honestly. And impartially. Discharge the duties. Of the Office of the Economic Development Commissioner. For the town of Zionsville, Indiana. According to law. And to the best of my skill and ability. Congratulations. Have some paperwork for you to sign. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good day, sir.
Corey. Hey, Corey. I didn't even notice you were there.
I'm a sleuth.
What'd you say?
I'm a sleuth.
Yeah, you are a sleuth. Okay, so I guess we're done with the oath of office. Are there any? I'm going to go backwards a little bit. Are there any recognition of any attendees who request to be noted at this meeting? If not, going once, going twice. All right, we're done with that. The oath of office, or excuse me, the election of officers. Are we just going to sit tight with?
So we would just need to, if you want to retain presidency, we would just need to reappoint you at this meeting. So we do have to do those annually.
Okay.
So we would just need a motion from Wes if you would like to continue forward.
Do we want to nominate our third person for something that requires a lot more work? Is that what happens when you miss a meeting here? Or?
Who's our third person again?
Bob Kuzman.
Bob Kuzman. Is he on the line right now?
No, unfortunately, he couldn't make it.
Okay.
He had other obligations that came up.
Okay.
But one of the items we'll touch on other business is an electronic meeting participation option. We'll have a resolution we'll cover under other business, so that way one person can participate electronically if they are not able to make it in person in the future.
Okay. Do you know if Bob had any intentions of wanting to be president?
I am not aware of any intentions at this time.
Okay. So we can throw him under the bus if we want to throw him under the bus.
You
Well-
can always retain the previous, from last year to this year, because I believe both you and Bob were on it last year.
Okay, let's do
I
that.
think
So,
Chelsea could be the new secretary.
yeah, why don't you make a motion to retain Mark Plasman and Bob in their respective positions, and then
Okay.
do I need to make a motion to
So moved.
do I need to make a motion to ask him or ask Wes if he would like to be our secretary?
I actually don't, I think you only have a presidency. I don't think you have any other positions
Okay.
on this board, just because of its unique structure.
Okay, all right. So why don't you make a motion to allow for me and Bob to retain our positions as president and vice president? Is that correct? Is that those are the positions? Okay.
And myself as secretary, is that the other?
No, there
Just
is
member?
just a
Okay.
member. Yeah.
Yeah, so moved. Yeah.
Well, you need to make the motion. So
Oh.
go ahead and make the motion.
I move for Mark and Bob to retain their positions and add myself as their general member.
Okay. So hearing that motion, are there any, do I need to ask the audience or if there's anyone that wants? Okay. All right. I guess we'll vote on the motion to carry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, so I will retain my presidency. Bob will retain his secretary or vice presidency, and Wes will be our new member, correct? Okay, great. All right, having got through that, we have some new business. The first order of business is the Wild Air EDA Mixed Use Development Resolution 2024-01. I guess this is a public hearing consideration of the resolution approving the EDC financing and the substantially final form of the related bond documents. Is there anything in specific that you want us to run through?
I'll chime in here. If you want,
Sure.
this is Corey.
Hey, Corey, thanks.
Corey Sharp, and I'm the director of the Economic Development Department Redevelopment Commission. And by way of introduction, this project has gone through the entire process for establishing an economic development area and allowing for the capture of tax increment financing to fund public infrastructure in and around Wild Air. Wild Air is a mixed-use development on Marysville Road, north of Oak Street. It has single family, which is not a part of the TIF or the EDA allocation area. What is a part of the TIF area is multifamily by way of senior living, and then the commercial and some other multifamily areas. So the developer has requested to capture the taxes over a period of 25 years, and those funds will be funding the construction of sewer, water, road, and gas infrastructure improvements, 2 roundabouts on Marysville Road, a pedestrian crossing across Marysville Road because the development actually is on the east and west side, and then just some traditional stormwater management on the site as well for site preparation. This project has gone through the Redevelopment Commission, the Plan Commission, and the Town Council, all with favorable approvals. It is now to you for the same consideration, and I think I saw their attorney, Jeremy Ullum, in the audience if you have specific questions for him as well. Your position today is to make a recommendation for or against on approving this TIF area. It will then go to the Redevelopment Commission tomorrow morning. Should you pass it out of here favorably for a developer bond, and that developer bond would be approximately between 12.2 million and $12.8 million. And when I say developer bond, that means that the developer is the one purchasing the bond, and the town, the RDC, does not take responsibility for the payment of that bond. The developer is the one responsible for that. So
No
this,
recourse on the town by the town or the RDC or in, okay.
right. So this is basically a pass through. So the taxes will come in over the next 25 years. They will pass to the developer for payment. If there are shortage in taxes to pay the debt obligation with the bond, the developer needs to make up that difference.
Can you speak a little bit to the structure of the increment and how it's being collected percentage wise? Is there type of a step down over the years, or how does?
There is not a step down over the years. This is a straight 100% over the period of the bond. The RDC did have Crow, who I think I saw Becca in the audience as well, do TIF projections, and her TIF projections, or Crow's TIF projections, basically came up to what they were requesting. They were requesting $13 million, and their projects will produce just under $13 million in tax revenues. Therefore, they're requesting 100% over the maximum duration allowable under state statute.
Jump into.
Go for it.
Sure. Corey, I understand that the TIF request also covers, I believe, park space, community space, some improvements related to that too.
Yeah, so it's kind of both. So the developer is working with the existing landowner, the Johnson family. They will be donating 30 acres of parkland, wooded parkland, to the Parks Department. So that is happening outside of TIF. As a part of the Redevelopment Commission working more closely with developers, we are also structuring a development agreement where the developer will basically contribute 10 acres of land for civic use at the northeast corner of Marysville Road and Oak Road for a civic use. That 10 acres will be deeded to the RDC. So along the same lines, the TIF allows for the purchase of that land from the Johnson family. Depending on how their projects stack up and their cost of infrastructure, you know, the road improvements, the excavating, stormwater, utility extensions, all of the projects that we've listed in your resolution, including the purchase of the 10 acres, all of those are allowable expenses underneath this bond.
And just to clarify too, the TIF district or the allocation area is specifically capturing the commercial and multifamily, none of the single family.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, the drawings there were very helpful to show what our developer wants to do. It looks like a nice project. I'm curious too, I saw some correspondence with the developer requesting the ability to ask for additional TIF monies if assessed values come in higher. Is that still a part of this, or is that?
Yeah, I'll let Jeremy, would you mind handling that?
Sure. I'd love to handle that. Hi, I'm Jeremy Ullum. I'm with Barnes and Thornburg. We represent Old Town in this transaction. That was in the initial Old Town request. It's not presently in the, the city can't really, or the town can't really bind itself to do that in the future. We are working with projections prepared by Crow. I think projections that we've reviewed, but in the instance where the assessed value came in dramatically higher and there were more increment, we have more infrastructure costs than this bond will support. That would be a return trip, though. Let me be clear. That'd be a return trip to say, hey guys, the assessed value is higher and we have additional costs, et cetera. What you're doing today, there's really two processes going here. And Corey kind of walked through that, but it's really hard because they get jumbled, right? We have the process to establish the TIF area, the allocation areas, economic development area. That's really the purview of the redevelopment commission, town council, plan commission plays a small role there. Then we have the issuance of the bonds that are payable from that tax increment. That's where the Economic Development Commission comes in. So your action today is really about the bonds, the project, holding a public hearing and forwarding this on to the full town council, who will have the ultimate say in whether those bonds are issued. So there's a lot of moving pieces here. And then in the midst of all that, as part of the development agreement, we have the contribution of land and the other benefits coming back to the town. So there's a lot of pieces. If it seems that way, it's because it's true. There are a lot of moving pieces, but your role today is really to hold the public hearing, make certain findings, and then the town council will take this up at their next meeting.
And if you would come back, it would be the same process that you went through originally.
Correct.
To
Yes.
The bond piece of it. Yeah.
Yeah. The TIF area would be established, so it'd be a little shorter, but we'd be asking for additional bonds, redevelopment commission to pledge. And I wouldn't speak. That's speculative at this point.
Understood.
I understand too, the senior living component would be built a few years after the multifamily.
Yeah, we expect these bonds to be issued in two phases. One initially to help with the initial infrastructure. That's really going to be payable from the increment to be generated by the multifamily piece, which is earlier in the process. And then a second series of bonds to be issued payable from the senior living increment down the road. It's all being authorized in the same, in an aggregate kind of process, but we do expect it to be issued ultimately in two series.
When do you anticipate the senior living to go forward?
2 years, in the next 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm getting the signals from the audience. Yeah, about 2 years.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Yep.
My last question was for staff and our legal counsel. Is Heather on?
I don't believe she's online.
Okay.
Heather is not on. I let her know that I would cover staff this morning. So she is at a conference. So
Okay. Staff and legal counsel happy with the paperwork? There's a lot
yes,
of
sir.
paper in front of us here.
And that's this is Commissioner Merkel. Is that how you pronounce your name, sir?
Yeah, you got it.
All right, great. This is our legal counsel's documents. We prepared these bond documents, and
Okay.
we prepared the TIF projections as well as a part of our due diligence to this public-private partnership.
Very good.
We good? Okay. Do we allow the public to talk, or other than?
Yeah, I would ask that you open a public hearing.
Sure.
No one has any comments, close the public hearing, make sure that's reflected in the
Okay.
minutes and then proceed to that.
I guess I'll take this time to open up the public hearing for anyone who'd like to make any comments on this resolution that we're going to be voting on. Hearing none, I will close this portion of the meeting concerning the public hearing. And I think unless staff has any questions, or Corey, if you have any questions, I'll move to make a motion to accept the resolution. Okay. All right. I don't know if I'll word this very well, but I'll give it a shot. I make a motion that the Zionsville Economic Development Commission vote and approve the resolution number 2024
It would be 2024-1.
2024-01 of the Zionsville Economic Development Commission of the town of Zionsville, Indiana, approving the issuance of bonds and other actions in respect to the Wild Air EDA mixed use development.
Second.
Hearing a second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, I think we've passed the resolution. Then I'm assuming you'll want us to sign our John Hancock's here before we leave on all this
I'll get your
paperwork.
signatures after the meeting.
Okay, sounds great. All right. And then our second order of business is on our agenda is the Holiday Farms EDA concerning the Century Senior Living Facility, Resolution 2024-02. There's a public hearing and consideration of the resolution approving the EDC financing and the substantially final form of related bond documents. So similar to what we did before. Corey, do you want to jump in and talk a little bit about it?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is a very similar request. It is a developer-backed TIF bond, similar structure where the developer is purchasing the bonds. The process, we are in a little bit of a different sequence. The Wild Air project has gone through all of the other boards that are required for approval through the town of Zionsville. However, Century is at the very beginning. You actually are the very first board considering this bond. And we did that because we know that you all are very busy individuals, and we wanted to allow for 2 agenda items rather than calling a separate meeting for you. So that's the reason why you are the first board to see this request. The Redevelopment Commission tomorrow morning will consider its declaratory resolution for this, which will again allow it to continue forward. So if you would, I'm just gonna allow me please to just give a little bit deeper of explanation on this project because it is new for the public. This project is located on 421 Michigan Road. It is north of Interactive Academy. It is on a property that has various zoning approvals. It has gone through the Plan Commission for its land use approval. So the project is senior living, and Crow has done it financial projections for a TIF bond, and Ice Miller, Heather James has done the legal paperwork for you to consider this approval. The developer is requesting 3.655, and that would allow for basically $2 million. It's netting out $2 million for project costs. Those project costs would go towards the construction of a trail on the east side of Michigan Road. The trail actually would extend from Appaloosa Crossing all the way down to Willow Road. So on and off of their property. Because they are considering improvements off of their property, this cost estimate for the bond will actually be a basically quote unquote a cash transaction to DPW. So the developer will issue the bonds, take on the debt, and then contribute $625,000 to DPW to construct the trail on the east side of the project. And the reason why that is structured like that is because of the land acquisition, the coordination with 421 improvements in the future happening down the way. Director Lance is at the forefront of that, and the town can work easily of building a trail in the right of way where we can, and then acquiring basically right of way where it's needed. That 625,000 allows for land acquisition and the construction of the trail. So as they figure out the route, DPW will lead the effort for right-of-way acquisition along 421. The other improvements that are approved for the TIF dollars are construction of the access improvements on 421 to the developers, the XL, decel lanes, the bypass lanes, as well as the drive that will lead to the assisted living, and also future development on 421. It also includes the standard stormwater improvements, utility access points, and then coordinating a safe pedestrian crossing across 421. That again will be linked very closely with DPW, NDOT, and the developers. Through the plan commission process, the developer worked very closely with the adjacent landowners, and the trail was their highest priority, which is why you see this trail as a part of their TIF request. The funding that will come in over the next 25 years, projected just for the assisted living, is a little bit over what is needed to do all of these infrastructure projects. So we have structured this TIF request with a 90% of the tax revenue going towards the bond obligations over a period of 25 years. So you'll see as we move forward with projects that we are vetting with our developers how much is needed to make their projects successful, that standard but for test, right? This project would not happen but for tax increment financing. So the Wild Air project needed 100% of their projects because their public infrastructure projects far exceed what the TIF will allow. Century is a little bit different. And so we're going to hold the RDC will hold back 10% and over that period. The other thing that is different about this project is that we are incorporating this in an existing EDA. Holiday Farms is an existing economic development area. Taxes have been collected over a period of, maybe six, I shouldn't even say, over a period of years. How about that? It does not include single family again. And that is based on how the state allows for these economic development area bonds to be structured. It only includes the collection of taxes on the clubhouse and the golf course, and then the commercial areas along 421. The commercial areas have not been done yet. So those tax revenues will continue to come in when that development happens. Likewise, future commercial on 421 on the east side of 421 in front of Century, those property taxes will also go into this EDA. And then that will help fund projects associated with Holiday Farms projects in the future, primarily sanitary sewer infrastructure needs.
Are you speaking to on the east side to the filling station that's there already, or the convenience store filling station, as well as Appaloosa Crossing? Is that what you're referring to?
No. Hankey Development has commercial land uses approved in their land use plan. And the projects that you just referred to are a part of Appaloosa Crossing and the Appaloosa Crossing TIF area. It does not include this area here.
Okay,
So those would all be future revenues. Again, this project is isolated to the Century boundary, and that this developer can only bond against what is shown on the map. You know, the isolation of the Century project. And Owen, if you have easy access to that, maybe you can hold that page up for them so they know what to reference.
I think
Okay.
I think I know. Yeah, but I appreciate you clarifying.
Yep. So, because this is solely, I should have highlighted this on Wild Air, and I can come back to it if you would like, but their development will impact the economy by way of additional jobs in Zionsville. They are proposing to have 65 new jobs associated with healthcare administration and facilities management in Century. Their payroll annually is estimated to be 3.5 million today, and then rising. Their assessed value, based on what Crow projected, is projected to be a baseline of 25 million once it's fully assessed.
All right. Nice job. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
You giving us, some insight here. Yeah, this is something that I may have read just off the side, but didn't know a whole lot about. I'm assuming we'll handle the same public forum, that we'll open that up.
Yep, you'll do the exact same process.
Okay.
Can I jump in with a question?
Sure, go for it.
I appreciate the explanation there. You initially answered a lot of my questions as you were going through. I'm just curious, what happens to the other, you mentioned 90% TIF, what happens to the other 10?
The 10% goes to the RDC, and the RDC then has the obligation to invest that money either in the EDA, this entire EDA, or annually we make the decision on what is needed to redistribute those taxes to the other taxing entities as well, which would be, so the Art Redevelopment Commission is a taxing unit in the town of Zionsville. And that's the reason why we can collect and isolate these taxes per parcel for economic development purposes. You have the town of Zionsville, the town council, you have the library, and you have schools. All are taxing entities. TIF basically establishes a baseline, and the property taxes that are collected today will continue to go to all of those different taxing units. It is the growth over the period of 25 years that is being captured that will go towards the cost of these public infrastructure improvements. And if this project has 10% extra in that growth, we can either invest it in and around this EDA, or we can redistribute it to the taxing units in that baseline.
And that's up to the RDC.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And at this time, there aren't any things on the table in terms of reinvesting those dollars. It's probably just something in the future that will be discussed and determined.
Yeah, unlike the developer, where we hold them to a strict list of projects of how the funds can be spent, the RDC has the capability to invest them in capital improvement projects, period, in and around this project. It could be for example, please, this is just an example, an idea. That's a huge disclaimer. I'm just brainstorming here. I'm not making any commitments as to this happening, but by way of example, let's say the $625,000 that's going towards the trail construction, that might happen. But each year with that 10%, maybe that will be enough to fund lighting along that trail. And we could do lighting, or we could do trail signage. So those are things that we have the capability to work with DPW and understand how we can continue to make improvements in and around the area so that the tax investments are true, basically.
Can you speak to like what happens if the trail ends up costing more money than the $625,000? Is the town get to come back and draw from this, or is the town got to make up the difference?
The town would make up the difference, and that's part of us negotiating with the developer. We knew that the trail was important. We worked with the developer to produce we requested the developer produce a cost estimate. We sent that cost estimate to DPW to determine its accuracy, and DPW felt comfortable that it was an accurate representation of the cost to construct this trail. So I think that we felt comfortable making the commitment that this will simply be a cash transaction, and then anything over and above the 625 left in their bond proceeds can go towards these other expenses.
And you mentioned part of the ask is for improvements to the intersection with US 421. Does some of that overlap with the work that went in across the street, various commercial properties? They already added some turn lanes. It looks like that may be done. It may not be done. Some of it's falling apart already. Just curious where that stands and how these two overlap.
The turn lanes on 421 are associated with the west side of the road. These would be for the east side of the road. I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to speak to the condition of INDOT's improvements. However, I do know that INDOT and DPW are working closely on a 421 improvement plan that will stretch all the way up to the northern border of Boone County.
You said INDOT did the improvements for the new turn lanes?
They're in INDOT's right away. So they are built to INDOT standards. I don't know who actually funded and did them, whether it was DPW, the developer, or INDOT.
Does anybody know the answer to that? No. Okay.
Corey, is there a timeline that trail or any of these dollars need to be spent on those commitments?
Yeah, the timeline for the developer is for them to, as soon as they close on their bond, basically it will be as you know, as a title expert, it's a seamless transition of the 625 to the town. I am working with DPW to establish a firm timeline on when the trail improvements will be made. They have been working with INDOT to establish when INDOT's improvements will happen. Director Lance and I have had a conversation of where the trail could go and when we could get that project up and rolling. The town's budget cycle will be approved in October, November timeframe. We began planning as department heads. We began planning that budget in June, July. So as we prepare for that budget, Director Lance and I will be having very close conversations to align the bond closing and the investment turnaround to the construction of the trail. I think a big part of a big piece that is yet to come is to fully understand when NDOT is moving forward with their road improvements and where we can work within the right of way. Because if we can get NDOT to allow us to work faster to their pace, but still within their coordination and vision of what the 421 corridor would look like. So that would be the flexibility that we've got to figure out over the next couple months.
You mentioned the property owners around are very supportive. Are they also supportive of selling the town or the developer, whoever's pulling the path, the right of way needed?
We have not spoken to the individual property owners that would potentially require. When Director Lance and I kind of looked at it, we were conceptualizing a very minimal maybe there's one or two property owners, and those would be further south, because north we're connecting to Appaloosa Crossing, and then south Interactive Academy has already committed to the contribution of right of way for a trail, so that has already been established. Then we will likely bounce out into the right of way that exists today. The tricky part is a culvert that will need to be put over, and where that culvert goes to continue the creek and stream flow on the east side. That's where we run into whether additional right of way would be required or not, and that's closer to Willow Road.
I sense that you had your question prior to about who spent the money to develop the current traffic, whatnot. And I think Attorney Matt Price mentioned that it was Henke who spent those dollars. I'm assuming you were wondering who is going to be responsible for maintaining and or working with alongside. I just want to understand where you were coming from on that question.
I was curious about the overlap. So they're talking about intersection improvements that I presume TIF dollars already paid to improve in that same area.
Okay.
So maybe some overlap, but you ask a good question too, is well, who's responsible for the maintenance now? Is that the town or NDOT?
I'll let if Attorney Matt Price is in the room, I'll let him answer that question. But while he's walking up, I can confirm that no TIF dollars have been spent in this EDA area to date. So if there were improvements made to the public right of way, those would have been done outside of TIF.
Right. Yeah, just for the record, Matt Price, an attorney for Century Development. Yeah, so the road improvements that have been done to date in connection with Holiday Farm were just funded by the developer out of its own funds. No tax increment was done with regard to that. And once those improvements are made and accepted, dedicated to the public, then it's part of the public street infrastructure and be maintained going forward by the public entity with jurisdiction. That's just the case all over town.
With none of our dollars, none of our tax improvement dollars involved in that in the future. Yeah. Okay. I think that's kind of where I was wanting to make sure that I understood your question and the answer we were looking for,
Yeah.
right?
Makes sense.
Yep. Okay, I guess we open it up for the public to answer any or ask any questions, correct? Like we did last time. All right, so I will now open up this meeting to the public for any questions that anyone would have regarding the resolution 2024-02. Having heard Attorney Matt Price, I don't know if Matt, you have any other things you want to? Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none, we will close the public meeting of this Zionsville Economic Development Commission meeting pertaining to this 2024-02. And do you have any other questions regarding that?
I think just generally, a comment of observation, it seemed like, and I'm new to this, so forgive me. And respectfully, I think, staff, Corey, you've done a great job of explaining there. You've headed off a lot of my questions, much appreciated. It looks like, in comparing the two projects with Wild Air, there's a pretty well-defined scope of what the town will receive in terms of providing the TIF, and here I appreciate the path extension. I just like to see more in the future offered to the town in terms of benefit. The path's terrific. I live up that way, so I presume we'll take advantage of that at some point. Just like to see a little bit more going down the road in terms of benefits to the community.
Yeah, before
I might comment on that. This is actually a
go for it.
first impression in the town where the developer is actually, as Corey described it, a cash transaction where we're pre-funding the infrastructure that's dedicated to the town at a very significant percentage in relation to the total bond size. So as far as what the town receives, I mean, it's unprecedented in terms of the percentage give back to the town and the developer's willingness to pre-fund those infrastructure improvements and just allow that cash to be used directly by the town.
Was that a negotiation or was that just the developer offering, considering the project?
It was
they were willing.
It was a negotiation, but part of a broader consensus that we developed with the residents of Hidden Pines, Bridlewood, the Zionsville Pathways Committee, and the Zionsville Redevelopment Commission. So I mean, it's I can't overstate it. I mean, this is a very significant precedent for the town, and so it's not a less than Old Town. I would not agree with that assessment. It's quite the opposite. It's a very progressive offering and really should be a template, I think, for future transactions.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, guess I will make a motion to approve this resolution, correct? That's where we're. All right, so I will make a motion to approve as part of the Zionsville Economic Development Commission resolution number 2024-02 of the Zionsville Economic Development Commission of the town of Zionsville, Indiana, resolution approving an issuance of bonds and other actions in respect thereto for the Century Senior Living Facility and the Holiday Farms EDA.
Second.
Hearing a second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? I think we have an approved resolution 2024-02. And then we'll sign documents after meeting.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any other business other than
I have one other
the
item.
staff has.
It's just, we are trying to get an electronic meeting resolution signed. It would basically allow you for, in the future, if two of you are here in person, the third would have the opportunity to participate electronically. So they would be able to sign online via Zoom, and they would be able to participate, vote, and see all the materials and go through the motions as normal, as if they were here in person. Right now, you do not have that luxury. I do have that resolution, so I can bring that forward for you. It's fairly straightforward.
Commissioners, for the public, would you mind reading that resolution aloud?
Sure. How about I'll take page one, you take page two, and then we'll, yeah, all right.
Do we need to read the whole thing or just the first paragraph, or what's the?
First
think-
paragraph, I think, just the first paragraph or, summarizing, would be adequate.
Sure, I'll do that on the first page and then kind of go over the sections 3, 4, 5, and 6 and 7 on the second page. Is just for the public to hear what the resolution 2024-03 reads. So whereas in the Indiana code referenced here in this act prescribes the requirements by which members of the governing body of a public agency of a political subdivision may participate in a meeting by electronic means of communication. Whereas a member of the governing body may participate by any means of communication that, one, allows all participating members of the governing body to simultaneously communicate with each other, and two, except for a meeting that is an executive session, allows the public to simultaneously attend and observe the meeting. Whereas the act requires the governing body to adopt a written policy establishing the procedures that apply to a member's participation in a meeting by an electronic means of communication, electronically in parentheses, and may adopt procedures that are more restrictive than the procedures established in Indiana Code 5-14-1.5-3.5, letter D. And whereas the Economic Development Commission, the commission, believes that to foster member participation and to ensure public transparency, the commission members' participation by electronic means shall only be used in limited circumstances, including but not limited to public emergency. And whereas the commission is a governing body of the town of Zionsville, Indiana. And then it goes on to talk about the electronic meeting policy in sections 1 and 2. Talks about members who participate electronically shall be considered present for purposes of establishing a quorum. All votes taken during a meeting at which at least one member participates electronically must be taken by a roll call vote. It talks about at least the majority of the commission members must be physically present at a meeting at which any member participates electronically. Not more than 50% of the members may participate electronically. It talks about a member may not attend more than 50% of the meetings in a calendar year electronic unless the member's electronic participation is due to one of the following: military service, illness, death, an emergency involving the actual or threatened injury to persons of the property. Section 4 talks about the minutes of memoranda that would be followed in the same way. No commission member may participate by means of electronic communication in a meeting at which commission is attempting to take final action to adopting a budget, reduction in personnel, referendum. What else here? Establish, impose, raise, or renew a tax. And 6 and 7 just talk about the worst case scenarios in the event that there's a technology failure and what happens if that occurs. And it just lists the commission members: Robert Kuzman, Wes Merkel, and Mark Plasman. Was that what you were looking for, Corey?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we allow the public to participate too, or just observe?
So the public currently can participate online if they so chose. This is for the board members only.
Okay.
Just because in normal cases, you are required to be in person to participate unless you adopted a similar ordinance or resolution.
Okay.
And this resolution it's not specific just to your board. All of our other boards have done a very, very, very similar.
I was going to ask that very question. Thank you.
Well,
Do we need to open this up to anywhere? Is this?
No, this is just a
Yes,
standard vote.
yeah.
You don't need to open it up to a public hearing.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-03, a resolution establishing the policy by which members of the Economic Development Commission may participate by electronic means of communication.
Second.
Anyone disagree? For all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, we have the resolution 2024-03 approved.
I don't have any other business at this time.
Okay. If none, or if hearing none by Wes or myself, Corey, you okay? Do you need anything else?
No, sir. Thank you both for leading the commission and taking part of our public process and making this town amazing. It's going to be a great 4 years, I think.
Agreed. I wish our process, meaning my execution here, was a little more smooth, but I'll get better as we do this more. All right. Well, if we don't have any other matters to talk about, I call this meeting to adjourn.